This is a new brand for me, so I was a little bit taken aback with the large gift box packaging on the Aohi Future Power cable set. However, as I've been using these over the past few months, I've found that the modular setup and the charge light indicator have been great features for a travel charge cable. This is an interesting concept I haven't seen before. The charge set includes 4 cables of different lengths that you can basically connect together to get a setup that works for your situation. The full set includes 4 cables. There's 2 longer ones with a USB-C male and female ends. One is long and straight, and the other one is coiled. And then there's 2 shorter cables, USB-C to USB-C and USB-C to Lightning. The idea behind this is to have a modular setup. You can use either the short cable by itself. If you need something longer, you can attach it to one of the longer cables. And if you need a really long cable, you can attach all sections together to get a very long cable. And so you can see the full length on these. The longer straight cable is about 3 feet long. And then the larger coil cable is a little bit longer than that. You could probably stretch it up to about 4 feet if you pull it out all the way. What immediately stands out to me is the build quality on these cables. Aohi uses a very thick aluminum connector pieces on the end here. Compare this to some more standard charge cables like the iPhone and a charge cable from Anker. You can see how much more durable these things are going to be. Also use a very thick braided Kevlar nylon coil, even thicker than my braided coil over here from Anker. The different pieces are connected together with a small aluminum ring that threads onto each side over here. You don't necessarily have to use it. These things will still connect together without it, but screwing them together is going to keep these from pulling apart when you pull on the cables. And worth noting, these do screw off from both sides, so you just need to be careful when you disconnect them. Just unscrew one side so you don't lose the connector. Another feature I found very useful on here is a charge indicator light. When you plug this in, it's going to pop up. It's showing orange here, which means it's fast charging. When it's fully charged, this is going to switch to a green light. Makes it really easy to see if your device is charged from across the room. As far as my experience using these cables, I like to travel lightly, so I haven't found a need to take all 4 of them. However, I do have both Apple and Android phones, so having those 2 options is useful. I found the shortest cable to be really useful for charging this thing with a battery pack. This thing is really short. You can just stick it in your bag and it's not going to get all tangled up. But then when you get to your destination, you're going to use a wall charger. It's very easy to just connect this and have a much longer cord. As I mentioned earlier, these cables are very thick and durable, but the power and data transfer capacity on these is also huge. This is really important when you're using an aftermarket wall charger because you need your cable to also be able to provide as much power as your laptop requires. These things can handle up to 240 watts of power transfer, which is huge and will enable you to power multiple devices as well as a laptop at the same time. But in reality, you're probably going to be limited by your device or your wall charger way before you're limited by this cable. For example, a slow charging cell phone only takes about 18 watts, easily handled with one of these small wall chargers. Fast charging phones now can go up to the high 20s, or some newer models can go as high as 65. Laptops are highly variable. My Dell only requires a 45 watt charger, while some MacBooks can go as high as 140. You also need to consider the wall charger you're using if you're using an aftermarket wall plug, because these are also going to limit the amount of power that you can put out. For example, most models of Anker laptop wall chargers can only transfer anywhere between about 65 to 140 watts. I also wanted to compare these Aohi cables to a really cheap cable from Amazon Basics. This one, very simple, USB-C to C, 3 feet long. Coming down to the specs, you can see we can transfer 3 amps at 5 volts. That means up to 15 watts total, which is a slow charger on a phone and not enough to charge a laptop. And remember, the Aohi cables can transfer up to 240 watts, which is probably more than anything that you're going to need it for. In summary, I found these cables to be very well made and durable. You probably don't need to take every piece on every trip, but the modular setup allows you to mix and match these to find a setup that works for you. The only con to this setup is that it could be a little bit overkill for your situation, depending on what you're using these for. You can easily transfer enough power for a laptop, but if you're really only using these for a phone charger, it may be a little bit more than you need. I hope you enjoyed this review on the Aohi Future Power cable set. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. And again, thanks for watching.